Hmm. Um, okay, so I was actually just saying this to my country manager in Ghana the other day. And Black folks have this saying that's that scared money don't make no money.
Mm-hmm.
So fear, you can't allow fear to hold you back. So what, you make a mistake, so what, you lose, a couple $1,000. If you, the other side of that is that you don't try and you don't learn anything.
I'm Felina Jean, and this is Black Broads Abroad. I'm an international woman of leisure who said peace out to the United States in 2011, and I have not looked back, accepted this ass, honey. Since then, I've lived on 4 continents with travel to over 40 countries. Along my journey, I've come to know some very compelling Black women from all over the world who also said fuck you to their comfort zones. I created this podcast to inspire Black women in the diaspora to take risks and live their very best lives. Tomara Watkins is the founder of Loza Tam, an e-commerce brand of satin-lined head wraps that are handcrafted in Ghana by women entrepreneurs. Tamara, aka Tam, is an e-commerce entrepreneur who has over 10 years of digital marketing experience, growth hacking CPG and beauty brands like Bevel, Form, and Heat-Free Hair. She's traveled to over a dozen countries on the continent of Africa. It was when Tamara went to Howard University that she fell in love with all things Africa. After traveling to Ghana, the bold prints and colors spoke to her, and she came up with the idea of African print, satin-lined headbands, and head wrap turbans. Determined to build a business with women like the women in her family, she ensures that all of Loza Tam's products are crafted by women entrepreneurs so they can support their families and continue to plant the same seeds that were planted in her as a young adult. Tamara has grown Loza Tam to be a 6-figure e-commerce brand and she is passionate about supporting and teaching other women how to generate revenue online. Welcome, Tam.
Thank you. Thanks for
And,
having me.
and happy birthday. I'm so honored you would do an interview with me all the way from Washington, D.C. on your birthday. So thank you.
No problem.
So I'm going to give like a little bit of background on like how we even came to know each other. So I guess like, was it 2 or 3 years ago? 2 or 3 years
It
ago.
was about, yeah. It's a funny story.
Yeah. I was in Johannesburg over like the Christmas holidays, and we just like bumped in or were introduced inside of a fabric store. And like the store owner just knew there was like another American in the store, and he was like, hey, it was like a friendship ever since. So I'm glad that, we serendipitously encountered each other on that day because you are definitely one of my riders and I appreciate you for it.
Ditto. I'm so glad the universe connected us.
I'm going to get right in. So, okay, I mentioned in your bio that you traveled to over a dozen African countries. So you're quite a voracious traveler. And I love the fact that you also don't mind traveling solo. And your entree into the continent of Africa was in college. First, like what countries have you visited on the continent and how has that influenced your work as a designer?
So I've done Ghana, Malawi, Morocco, Egypt, South Africa, Zanzibar, Tanzania, Ethiopia. I feel like I'm forgetting 2 or 3, but yeah, I've been to a lot. But in college, like at Howard, there's a ton of students from all across the continent. It's in DC being like the epicenter, I feel like, for Habesha, aka Ethiopian culture. I was just so interested in meeting all these different types of Black people. And so I was like one of the few Black American students in the African Student Association. So I think being in that just really just continued to grow my curiosity about, the continent of Africa.
So you grew up in Florida, and you come from an entrepreneurial family because your mom is also a business owner. Was there any pushback from your family at all about the fact that you earned a degree in chemistry from Howard, and then you decided, I'm gonna make headbands and turbans and caftans in Ghana? What did they think about that?
You know what? I'm pretty lucky because I feel like my family, my mom was pretty liberal with me growing up compared to how some of my friends' moms were. So she didn't keep like a tight leash on me like that. Like she kind of let me explore whatever the various interests I had. You know, one day I was interested in something, the next day I wasn't, like most teenagers. But to me, it was just more so like, can you make a living off of this? Yes. Okay, cool. Like it's more so like, as long as I didn't have to ask them for money, or as long as, I wasn't homeless in the streets, which I kind of was at one point, but they didn't know. But
You are
yeah,
not,
it was
are
more,
you being hyperbolic?
I
Were
mean,
you,
I had to stay on my friend's couch for a couple
oh,
of months,
that's not homeless in
because
the
I didn't have
street.
a place to stay.
That's you know what, that's the grind of a entrepreneur. That's not, it's not like it just come with the territory.
Yeah, basically, I tell a lot of people, like, entrepreneurship is not glamorous, it's not fun. Like, you have to have the stomach to deal with a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, that's the truth. I mean, I liken it to like jumping out of the airplane and building a parachute on the way down.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
Oh my God. I mean, he's such a good friend. It's been so many times I'm just like, fuck this shit. I'm giving up. You don't let me give up. That's one of the many reasons that I rock with you. Yeah.
We can't. Like, what's the other option? Like, what else are we gonna do?
So one of the things that I really like is that, well, I love is that your brand, your products are handcrafted in Ghana, and you've built an ecosystem of sorts for Ghanaian female seamstresses who may have otherwise faced a barrier to entry to entrepreneurship. Was that intentional?
Yeah, so when I came up with the idea, I had a friend in Ghana, and I was asking him, like, do you know any women that I could work with? Just because, I feel like working with women when designing products for women, the finished product just turns out a lot better because, even when I'm not present, which I'm not in Ghana all the time, I want to be able to know and rested assured that, they can try it on and they know how it's going to fit versus, when you're working with men, like,
Mm.
they don't understand all the intricacies and the details that go into, making a great product for a woman. So yes, it was intentional from a design perspective, but also it was intentional in terms of just, I mean, in a lot of developing countries, if you don't come from an affluent family, it's very hard to kind of become successful and break out on your own. So, to me, if a lot of these women, they have amazing skill when it comes to like tailoring. And so, yeah, to answer your question, I feel like I'm going off on a tangent, but
No.
yeah, it was very intentional.
So, what was the inspiration like even behind like creating accessories like African print accessories in the first place?
So like about, I don't know, 6 months before I launched the company, I had taken up an interest in Bikram yoga. And so I was in a Bikram yoga class, and it was in the summer, so it was already hot outside. And then you add the 100-degree, temperature within the Bikram yoga room. It was just extremely hot in there. And I had on a headband, and I have like big kinky curly hair, and I was doing a downward dog. My hair was doing a downward dog. And I was just frustrated. And I was so distracted by my hair being on my face and this headband not working. I couldn't even get into like my little Zen moment I was trying to have in there. So I just kept thinking, like, I'm going to get another headband as soon as this class is over. So after the class was over, I went to the Target down the street, and I started, going down the quote ethnic hair care aisle, looking for some headbands that will work. And I didn't see any. The only ones that I saw were those little thin ones that I already had on that had that silicone strip in it. And that silicone strip can pull your hair out. So
Oh, yes.
yeah, and I was just kind of like, all right, well, whatever, it's not here. And I was like, there's probably something online I can find. So I went on Google and didn't find anything that met, all the things that I was looking for. So I just kind of let it go, because at the time I was working full time as a e-commerce marketing director. So I was, pretty busy with that. But fast forward a couple months later, I went to Ghana, and that's kind of when the light bulb turned on, because I was like in a taxi and I was just, being driven around and looking at the scene of Ghana, which is a lot to look at, but it's like the women, they wear such colorful fabric, and I saw the fabric and a light bulb just came on. I was like, oh, I'm gonna make some headbands, out of this African print fabric, and I can line it in satin. Like, when anyone who goes to, West Africa, like, it's the way that the apparel industry is that a lot of stuff is made ready to wear. So you don't always go into a shop and say I want a small, medium, or large of this particular item. Like, it's so easy to get clothing made there, and it's affordable. So I was just like, oh, I'll just get them made. And that's when, I reached out to my friend to ask him, if he knew of any women. And so originally I just wanted to get the products made for myself, and then I was going to gift the remainder to my friends. So after I picked out the ones I wanted, I gifted the rest to my friends, but I still had a decent amount left over. So like a month or two went by, and I was just like, let me put these up on Etsy just to see if I could sell them, because I didn't want to waste them. And like within a day or two, like I got a sale, and I just thought it was for my friend. I was just like, somebody, maybe taking pity on me and wanting to be nice. So when I look at the name on the sale, I was like, oh, I don't know this person. And so a couple days later, I just kept getting, damn, like I have a background in e-commerce marketing. I know how to build a website. Like if I build a website and put an actual effort into marketing this product, like, it might do okay. And it's been doing okay.
It's like the line is so fly. Like when you and your boo came to Johannesburg this year, you laced me with one of your new designs, the caftan. Oh my gosh, I was so sick this pandemic hit because I had immediate plans for that
I know, I
caftan.
feel the same way, girl. I sit around my house with it just so I can kind of deliver like rich bitch vibes.
Yes,
'Cause
that's
that's the reason.
exactly what it is. That caftan with those turbans, girl.
Yeah, I just sometimes put my caftan on, and I'll go sit out on a sunny day. It hasn't been that sunny here in DC, but like when the sun is shining, I'll put my shades on, I'll put my caftan on, my turban on, and I'll just sit outside and work, just so I can kind of in my mind be, I don't know, on a boat in Zanzibar.
Yeah, it's important though. I think dressing is still important to like boost our morale during this time. And the thing I like most about your brand is that like it's easy. It's sophisticated, it's easy, it's elegant. And it's just like it don't take that much effort though, but it's still so fly. So
Thank you.
you do spend part of your time in Ghana throughout the year. Can you like walk us through like the behind the scenes of like running a business on the ground across continents? Like have you ever faced any like cross-cultural challenges in building a business outside of American
Ooh,
soil?
girl. Yes. So, for one, you kind of would think, maybe not everyone thinks like this, and maybe I was a little naive to kind of make these assumptions, but you just think, okay, all Black people, like, we have similar ways of thinking and doing things and referring to things. But when I started my business, I quickly realized, well, maybe I slowly realized, because of the amount of mistakes that happened, was that, communication is key. Like, for example, just in the way that I refer to a color, like, for example, mauve, like, in America, to me, mauve is like a purplish, like a light purple. But in Ghana, the way that they refer to mauve is different. And so I remember placing an order for the mauve turbans, right? And when I got the order, it was violet purple. And I was like, I didn't order these. And they're like, you said mauve. So one of the things that I've been able to do to kind of mitigate that type of stuff is lean on technology, but also have in-person training, so to make sure everybody is on the same page. So for example, like when I say leaning on technology, like using video, especially right now, because it's not like, I'm about to get on a plane and go to Ghana just because of everything that's going on. So leaning on video is like super important, doing FaceTime calls, just to make sure that we're all on the same page, because WhatsApp texts and stuff like that, like that'll work once you've aligned, but even then, I just think over communication is key.
Over communication, that's a good tip. That's a very good entrepreneurial tip. So wait, what year did you start Loza Tam?
In 2016.
2016. And so when did you realize that you could really monetize this into a full-fledged viable business?
Within 2 months of launching the business, because I remember I sent Natural 85 Whitney a headband. I think I sent her two. And I was at work at my marketing job, and I was in a meeting, and I remember I kept feeling my phone buzzing, going off, and I was getting ready to go to Miami the next day on a girls trip. So I'm thinking, it's my friends, like, we all hype in the group text about going to Miami for a couple days. So when I get out of the meeting, I look at my phone and my friend's like, congratulations. And I'm like, congratulations for what? And she was like, oh, Natural 85 just posted your headband on Instagram. And I was like, what? So then I go and I check my email, and it's like all of these orders. And I was like, oh shit. So, and at the time I kept my headbands in my, I drove them around in my car trunk in a suitcase because the e-commerce platform system that I was using at the time, I was always afraid that I was either going to oversell or undersell my inventory. So every time I got a sale, I would go to my trunk, and it was a UPS store across from my job. So I would go and fill the order, drop it off to the UPS store, and then count the units that I had remaining to make sure that they were accurate. So I had to keep going back and forth to my car to like count how much I had. And at that point I was like, okay, this can really, be something.
That's crazy that you hit it out the ball. Not crazy, it's divine, but that you hit it out the ballpark like in 2 months, and okay, this is not just like some Etsy hobby. This is like can be a viable, quite lucrative business. One of the things that we have in common is the fact that we have traveled a great deal by ourselves. And one thing I always like to reiterate is that there are such profound differences between tourists and travelers. And that's not a value judgment. It's just, it's a fact. And traveling solo, it forces a level of introspection that we may not be afforded in our everyday lives. What is something that you've learned about yourself that you didn't know as a result of traveling alone?
That I'm not as introverted as I thought I was. So like I like to keep to myself, which is why I usually like to travel by myself, because I find that I can move a lot faster. I can maneuver in these places a lot easier when I'm by myself. But when you're in China or in Ghana, like you realize like you got to be able to talk to people, because they know the culture, they're there. So the more you can, and I don't like to use this word, network, the more you can connect with people that are from wherever you are, the better off you'll be, because that's more resources for you. So like I remember when I was in China, and just through the universe, similar to how we met. Like I met this guy from Mali who was there on business. And we connected, and he pretty much like took me under his wing and took me into the markets of China, which is like freaking shark infested waters.
Right.
And without him, like, you know, I would have been like lost. I remember I lost my cell phone. I left it in a taxi in China, and my cell phone basically had all of the Mandarin and Cantonese places that I needed to go, like my address, because not a lot of people speak English in China. So without him, like taking me around and showing me the ropes, you know, I would have gotten severely taken advantage of. And I don't know if I would have made it back, just because I left my phone in the taxi, and he had to help me get another one and help me communicate with the people there in order to get another.
I mean, with the challenges that we're facing in this, like, the middle of this pandemic, have there been any like pivots that you've had to make in your business, like due to supply chain logistics being interrupted? Like, your manufacturers are in one place, you're in one place. Like, have you had to pivot your brand as a result of the pandemic? And like, where do you see Loza Tam going in the future?
So I haven't had to really pivot the brand other than in like minor marketing type campaigns. So, instead of saying, it's for the woman on the go. Right now, the woman isn't going anywhere but to the grocery store. So, we just talk about, how we can use the head wrap to work from home, how it's an easy and effortless way to look pulled together, like on your Zoom calls and things like that. But in terms of like logistics and stuff, now that has been where a lot of the challenges has happened. And so because like, for example, like raw materials coming from other countries, like, in the height of COVID, which I guess technically we still are, but I know Ghana has started to relax a lot of its lockdowns, although I don't think the international airports has opened back up yet. But when that was happening, like basically there were no international flights coming in or going out of the country other than like the mail carriers like DHL, UPS. But normally when I ship my product from Ghana to the States, it comes via air cargo. And that's typically a plane like, South African Airways or something like that. But if South African Airways is no longer flying, then that means I don't have a way to get my product out of the country into the hands of the customer. So I had to pivot and use higher cost carriers like DHL. And they're super quick and convenient, but the price of that was 5x what I was normally used to paying.
Whoa.
So sticker shock is an understatement.
Whoa. That's major. But one of the things that you just pointed out, like the functionality of your turbans and your headbands, is that like you could look pulled together instantly. It really is. It's been my saving grace when I've had to do Zoom calls and I can't bleach my hair, and I haven't been to the salon and I don't know how long at this point. So yeah, I've had to do some Zoom calls, and first thing I do is pick up my Loza Tam turban and pull it together.
Yeah, girl. I'm so over here right now. Like, yeah. And like my favorite brands, like they're sold out of product just because, like you said, like you can't color your hair. It's hard to find the products right now because there's such a high demand. So yeah, I just live in a turban at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a good time for your brand because, like, especially a lot of us are wearing turbans right now.
And see, that's the thing, because like the demand has increased for the product. So it's hard, trying to keep the product in stock right now because all of these logistical issues.
What's the biggest lesson that you've learned about stepping outside of your comfort zone?
Okay, so I was actually just saying this to my country manager in Ghana the other day. And, Black folks have this saying that scared money don't make no money.
Mm-hmm.
So like, fear, you can't allow fear to hold you back. Like, so what, you make a mistake, so what, you lose, a couple $1,000s. Like, if the other side of that is that you don't try and you don't learn anything, or you don't make any extra money.
That's a good point. And I mean, the reason that I created the Black Broads Abroad platform is just is to encourage Black women to step outside of their comfort zones. And you've been kind of an expat part-time with having done business in Ghana for the past 4 or 5 years. What advice do you have for Black women who are thinking about becoming part-time expats, or those who want to take the leap full-time?
I would say, and this is just me learning from my own mistakes. I'm not much of a planner. Well, I used to be, didn't. I used to not be much of a planner. Now I'm learning the value of planning, just even from a financial perspective, because the more you plan things out, the lower your costs will be. And the less you'll bump your head against the wall.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of times, like, you know, like when you think like expat travel, it's like, oh, just throw caution into the wind and do it. I've done that and I've had amazing experiences, but it's also cost me a lot of money. And I feel like unnecessarily. And had I taken a little bit more time, pumped the brakes just a little bit more and planned it, I feel like, you know, financially, you know, I wouldn't have had to learn such hard lessons.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. Especially like when you're it's one thing like when you're younger and you're in your 20s and
Mm-hmm.
but when you're grown, you really do need to plan and take measured steps before you take such a big leap. Good advice.
Yeah.
So my last question, what is next for Loza Tam, and where can people keep up with your journey?
So we're releasing a new type of turban in the fall. We're coming out with new colors. So yeah, just an extension on what we're already doing, just with different styles. And people can shop our entire collection of satin-lined head wraps and turbans at lozatam.com. Or follow us on Instagram, and it's Loza_Tam.
Thank you so much for your time, friend, and happy birthday, 35.
Shout out to our Patreon members. Thank you so much for your support. If you too are interested in supporting the Black Broads Abroad movement, keep up with us on social media, and that's at Black Broads Abroad, BlackBroadsAbroad, and that's on IG and Facebook. And if you're interested in supporting on Patreon, visit www.patreon.com/Black Broads Abroad.